Hello and welcome to the What is HTML lecture. I'm Matt Landers with Johnston, and we're going to go over what HTML files actually are and how they work.
Yeah, so HTML stands for HyperText Markup Language, and in a previous video we discussed HTTP, which is the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So it coincides with HTML. And basically, when you go to a web page, you download all the files, you see this page, and it's all written in a couple of different languages, one of which is HTML. And HTML defines the structure of the web page. So it's what's saying, I want to put a button on the page, and I want to put an input box on the page, or something like that. And HTML is split up into a couple of different things. So Matt can kind of walk you through those different concepts now. So the first concept would be elements.
Yes.
The way you structure an HTML page is with elements, and Matt is going through one right now.
Yeah, so an element is, we also call them tags. So elements are tags, you'll often hear them called that. And all that they are they just have this starting tag and an ending tag, and then their contents live inside of them. So literally this is a valid HTML element at this point, and I can put some text in here. In Hello World, you're gonna see a lot, so just get used to that. But a div tag is just a divider. You can hover over this in Visual Studio and see that an explanation of it. So this div tag has no meaning at all. That's good to know. Thanks, Visual Studio. But it's just a divider, and it allows you to separate things on the screen. Now, not all tags have a beginning and ending tag. Some of them just have a beginning one. So like an input box. So if you put in your email address or password into a website, you're going to use an input tag. And the input tag has no closing tag, because nothing can be put inside of an input tag. You can't nest other tags within it. So that's really important to understand why some have one and some don't. So you can't do that here. So this little bit of HTML here would put a text box on the screen. Now,
and we'll get into more of the HTML elements in a future video. The next concept we need to go over is what an attribute is. So you can have these elements or tags, but you can also have attributes. And attributes kind of give you some metadata about how the tag should be displayed on the screen.
Yeah, so in this case, this input box has a type attribute, and the value for that attribute is put in quotes here, and it's a text type. So now I could also change this in this case, like password. And there's specific ones that you have to use in this case, but password will make it where when you type in the text box, you can't see the characters, so it hides them for security reasons. We can do a number, we can do email. So these attributes allow us to define specific things about that element.
And sometimes they actually instruct the browser how to render a particular element, how to show it on the screen, or how to handle, in this case, if somebody's inputting an email, maybe the browser will tell them, ooh, this is an invalid email. You need to use a valid email address.
Right, so if they type something that's not an email, it'll let the user know that they've done it wrong. So the main thing to know about HTML is that it's just a text file. Think of it like a Word document with a specific format. And then it always starts with a less than sign, the tag name or the element name. This is a fake one, I'm just giving you the example. And then it has attributes. Those attributes have values that are in quotes. All right, and you can have multiple of them too. And it has a closing tag as well, like you see here. So this isn't a valid one, but I'm just doing this as an example so you can see what it would look like. And then inside of these tags, you can have other tags. So I could put my input tag here. And you'll notice that Visual Studio has given me a indentation here, a tab over. So anytime that we nest elements within each other, we want to make sure that we indent that with a tab. And in this case, our tab puts in 4 spaces. so that we can know where we are in the document. This is very important that you do this in your code as you're writing, is that you understand that those indentions are what's going to help you read your code and know what's happening in it.
You can kind of think of it as a tree, or like a family tree, where you have a parent-child relationship between the input tag here and the tag name up top, and then we have a div and then an input in the div. So you can think of it as this hierarchical tree, and based on how you structure your HTML, it'll be rendered differently in the DOM versus, or in the HTML versus if I say, you know, move this down here. Now it's going to be rendered in a different spot altogether, right?
Yeah, so when we say render, we mean that the browser reads through the HTML, and at each tag or element, it decides, what should I do with this? How do I display this as something on the screen for the user? And it reads that text out and actually makes that happen.
And this is based on a set of rules that people have defined of how different elements, different tags, different attributes should function.
So the main thing for this video right now, don't get caught up on the different tags and what they do. That's going to come in different videos. Right now we're just trying to introduce you to what HTML looks like and what to expect as we start to dive into it. So it's just a text file that the browser gets, reads, and then displays to the user in the form of what you're used to seeing on a web page. So we'll dig into that in the next section, but now we're going to move on to CSS and talk about how we use cascading style sheets. So see you soon.